And we're back to learning Gimp, and this time I'm going to show you how to create a sliced head effect. I'm going to go over this a couple of times, so don't worry if the first time is too fast. We've got an image and a background. First up, sample the color in your image. So here it is now for me. Use the paint bucket tool, left click on your background. So this is my place to start. Then we go back to the original. It's a good idea to start at the bottom and then go upwards. It makes things easier when you have multiple of these slices. I use the ellipse tool. Make sure that this selection starts and ends somewhere on the neck in this case, so you don't want to have too much of the background in it. Then create a new layer, let me call that ellipse, and it's important that it's transparent. I'm on this layer and use the gradient tool, use foreground to background. Now it's black and white. And you can click on start and end point here. By the way, I've got it set to linear as a shape. It should be by default, but if it's not for you, change it. And click on start and end point here, and then adjust the colors. Let me start with a pinkish color right here. And you want to make the upper point have somewhat of the same color, so use the eyedropper tool maybe. But then you want to go down to make it a little bit darker. Something like this. The next step is to cut out the upper part of the head. I use the rectangle tool for that. And I left click drag. I've got my mode set to adding, so it adds this to my selection, which was this ellipse. You want to have it somewhat in center of the ellipse. Then go back to the original layer. Let me copy this so that I have the original as backup, just in case I run into a problem. I've got the original copy selected, so it's active. By the way, here you can find it. It's adding parts to selection. I believe by default it's set to replace, so change it to adding. Then you can press Ctrl X, or just go to edit cut, and then Ctrl V for pasting, or go to edit and paste. It should be a floating object right now. Turn it into a layer by clicking on the new layer icon. And now all you have to do is to position the ellipse below it. Let me get back to my top head portion, and I can move it around now. And it's the effect that we want. Just an additional tip, here you can see the black background is still part of it. We don't want that. So let us go to select by color, left click on it. And we want to add a layer mask, but we have to invert it first. Then right click on the top layer and add a layer mask with selection. It's already fine, but you can see here a little bit of an issue that we need to fix. But on the left hand side we've got clear edges, so things are fine here. The way to deal with it is you can reposition it to the right or just fix it manually. Let me show you how. I'll zoom in. Now go to my layer mask here. I use the paintbrush. Black conceals, so you can see that here, and white reveals. So set it to white, paint over it. And that's the way to fix it manually. If you want to have very clear edges, just get up with the hardness of your brush to 100 right here. And now the edges are very sharp. And this is the process that I would use. Let me show this again for a second ellipse. So once again, we're going bottom to top, which makes things easier. We need a new layer for our second ellipse. Use the ellipse select tool, left click drag. It should cover the face but not the background. Next up, use the gradient tool, add a gradient, foreground to background. This time I make it turquoise. At the bottom it's lighter, and at the top it should be a little bit darker. Once you've got that, use your rectangle select tool. It's set to the second mode right here for add to current selection. Cover the entire upper part of the face. Find your face layer. It should be this one right here. Select it in the layers menu, then press Ctrl X, cut it out, and then Ctrl V to paste. It's a floating object. Click on new layer. And then reposition this to the top. Afterwards, move it around. Again, we've got this issue with the background here as my original wasn't a cutout. So I use select by color, left click on it, invert the selection, right click on my layer, add layer mask, it's set to selection, and I'm good. When you reposition it, make sure that you reposition the layer and not the layer mask. And that should be it. I'm going to add a third selection here. It's the same process. If you want to reposition the entire image, just merge all of the necessary layers. So we don't need the original, which was my backup, the background, but everything on top needs to be merged. So go to the top layer and then click on this icon down here a couple of times. And now everything is on a new layer and I can reposition that. And it's the way I would create this sliced head effect in Gimp. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.